In a world filled with screens and distractions, we invite you to reconnect with the natural world around you. Welcome to Nature Bound, a podcast dedicated to unpacking the intrinsic bond between humans and nature. We'll uncover the benefits of spending time outdoors, including how a nature-centric lifestyle can improve your mental health, elevate your leadership skills, and unleash your creativity. And now here's your host, outdoor enthusiast, and renowned author of The 7 Principles of the Magic Rock, Emmanuel Rose.
Thanks for joining me for this episode of Nature Bound. My guest today is Peter Grubb. And 2026 is Peter's 49th year as a professional guide and 47th year as an outfitter and tour operator. He has guided his companies through tumultuous times, and he loves the good that travel brings to the world while also recognizing the impacts that it carries. Now, his company, Row Adventures, was originally founded as a whitewater rafting company and then expanded into Mediterranean yachting tours in 1984. And since then has grown and evolved into 3 entities. And we'll talk about all 3 of those and its impact on its participants and on Peter's life as well. Peter, thank you so much for taking some time to have a conversation with me.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Wow, you've been doing this since it looks like since the 1970s.
Yep, that's right. I started working as a whitewater raft guide after my sophomore year in college.
And in the last almost 50 years, there's been a lot of changes in the United States. What do you think is the biggest difference that you're seeing in the way the adventures are being packaged and consumed by the end users?
Well, I think one thing I've noticed is, as a general trend, people, at least in the U.S., have become softer, as it were. It's harder to find people willing to sleep on the ground, run class 4 whitewater.
Yeah.
I think the definition of adventure is not the same as it was 50 years ago.
That's fascinating. I think I've seen that too, and some of the things that how much electrical equipment people will take on trips now than in the old days, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it wasn't that long ago that maybe 5 to 8 years ago, we were talking about maybe we should designate a few of our tours every year as connected tours, where people were allowed to bring satellite phones, because many of the places that we operate are not serviceable by cell signal.
Sure. Yep.
But now the conversation has completely shifted with the advent of Apple phones connecting to satellites and Starlink and all that. And now the conversation is maybe we should have some honor system driven trips where people remain unconnected.
Oh, for sure. I would come out of my skin if I was on your trip on the Snake River and there's people chatting away with their grandma on the sat phone. That would make me crazy.
Yeah, and it's an etiquette that now we have to discuss.
Yeah, that's interesting. I do love your list of destinations. I think you've got amazing all the amazing rivers on the west coast, I think. But tell me about the yachting tours. I think this is probably the thing I know the least amount, and it might be something that's interesting to me.
Sure. Well, in 1984, it's a pretty good story. My wife and I were getting married, and at that time in our company history, one or the other of us, or both of us together, had guided all of our trips.
Yeah.
And I had a passion for the classics and the Mediterranean, and thought it would be great to go on a honeymoon along the coast of Turkey where you can visit Greek and Roman ruins and have this beautiful mix of history and nature and snorkeling and walking all wrapped into one. And we looked into it and discovered quickly that chartering a yacht was beyond our budget as a new, about to be wed couple.
Yeah.
Um, so we sent a letter out to the 200 or so people that we had taken on our rafting trips and said, hey, we're going to be leading this new trip along the coast of Turkey. And this is what we're going to do. We think it's going to be great, but be warned, we've never done it before. But we hope you'll join us. And P.S. It's our honeymoon.
Love it.
Yeah,
Yeah, so you got some direct response marketing to your post office list at that point, right?
yeah, that's right. It was all by mail. These were personal letters that we sent out, written on a typewriter,
Love it.
and we got 8 people to sign up, and off we went on about an 11-day yachting trip. And when everybody said goodbye, we stayed for another few weeks for the real honeymoon.
Yeah, I love it. Well, that's a great story about the necessity of introducing commerce and pleasure at the same time, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can't imagine. Do you have a count of how many trips you've been on over the course of your career and in your private life?
Oh, no, no, I really don't.
It's
Yeah.
got to be in over 1,000, I would imagine.
Yeah, yeah, I would have think so. And I've been to over 50 countries and led tours in many of those. Always when we're abroad, in conjunction with a local guide,
Uh-huh.
because we really feel that they're the people best qualified to open the doors of understanding to a location.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Well, what I guess what's what you would consider one of the most remote places you've been in your travels?
Oh boy. Well, right here in the U.S., we run a couple of rivers in the very southern part of Idaho, the Owyhee
Oh yeah.
and the Bruno, and those are both very remote in terms of access. And then once you're out there, your options for getting out are pretty pretty limited. Um,
Yeah, that's the big empty out there in the Oahe for sure. It's an amazing spot. Everybody needs to put that on their bucket list to be in Eastern Oregon at least for one time for a couple weeks.
Yeah, yeah, and the both those rivers, the Bruno and the Owyhee, start actually in Nevada and
Right.
flow through the parts of Idaho. And the Owyhee does, of course, also go through a corner of Oregon. But yeah, those would be very remote places. The country of Gabon in
Okay.
Africa,
Yeah.
West Central Africa would be another one. um, Maybe I mean, obviously the capital isn't remote, but once you get out of the capital and you're in the Congo Basin, which is the second
Uh,
largest rainforest river basin in the world after the Amazon,
uh-huh.
that's a very remote and amazing place.
That's cool. I got to put that on my list. I don't think about Africa as those kind of trips, but that's interesting. What are some of your some of the highlights of being outside out and about? What are some of the memorable things that you've got kind of in your personal diary?
Well, there's so many. I
I
mean,
would imagine.
I guess just one way to put it broadly is, as the philosophy of your show suggests, is just being in nature is always healing and
Mhm.
regenerative and restorative. And so, on many levels, the highlight is always just being in nature, regardless of where that is.
Right.
I mean, just breathing fresh air, whether that's pine scented air of the Pacific Northwest or heavier humid air of the Amazon basin, or whatever. It's always a delight. Um, but gosh, yeah, to narrow down stories is would be a tough one, but certainly, yeah, there's been plenty, ranging from having to portage rafts around big rapids due to sometimes quickly changing water levels,
Yeah.
to just sharing the experience with fantastic groups of people who are curious and open-minded, to going to places, that are really steeped in history, and you
Mhm.
feel a connection to the place, not because you're the discoverer per se, but in fact because you're following some footsteps of earlier peoples.
Yeah, I love it. Uh, you've got on your list a lot of the rivers that I've been on and enjoyed time on, including the Rogue and the Deschutes, and then the Oahe, which not a lot of people have heard of, and then the Grand Ronde, which is, I think, one of the most precious experiences left in the lower 48, just for its remoteness, also.
Yeah, it's a beauty for sure. Mhm.
And then now, I mean, we're seeing a lot of this screen time and electronics and all these things are having negative effects on kids. And so, what kind of experiences do you guys have in your catalog for helping parents get their kids outside and get some dirt time on the river?
Sure. Yeah. Well, our sort of flagship tour for families we call, Family Magic, and it's a 5-day, 4-night trip on the Salmon River. And we take kids as young as 5, and people can't go on the trip unless they bring a kid.
Okay.
And that really makes a guarantee that the trip's going to be kid focused, family focused.
Yeah.
Um, and what happens on those trips, the dynamic is wonderful because we'll have anywhere from, 7 to 10 kids usually, and sort of 7 to 10 adults. And we staff the trips with an extra guide that we call our river jester, um, who leads nature-oriented games and activities with the
I
kids when
love it.
when we're in camp. And what's wonderful about it is parents, of course, are welcome, whether it's parents or grandparents or aunts and uncles, are welcome to take part in any of the activities that the kids do. But whether they do or they don't, everybody is sharing the same beach and is, generally speaking, within eyesight of each other. So
Yeah.
there's just a wonderful amount of vicarious sharing, where everybody can be connected with what the other people are doing, in a nice way. And luckily, still, this river is off the grid,
Yep.
in terms of cell signals. So really, screen time isn't an issue, and we keep the kids busy enough and tired enough, I think,
Yeah. Yeah.
that they're pretty happy in the new environment.
That's cool. It sounds like a floating summer camp for the family.
Yeah, and the Salmon River, that part of the Salmon, it's the last 52 miles before it comes into the Snake.
Uh-huh.
Because it's an undammed river, these incredible big white sand beaches have formed from the granite that's been ground up in the headwaters, and travels a couple hundred miles downstream and settles out. And so here you have what looks like a Pacific Coast beach, but you're on a freshwater river. And so for the kids, it's like being in a big sandbox the whole
Yeah,
week. Yeah.
that's cool. I love it. Yeah. So I love that, and I love that it's accessible for families. Um, I guess if you had a magic wand, what are a couple things that you would hope for people as we're moving forward from this time in relation to experiencing wilderness and outside and natural places?
Well, I think we continue to have a challenge, in this country of simply making more outdoor time accessible to more people. And in some cases, it's just that people don't know how,
Yeah.
or don't know where to start. but there are, also societal elements that factor into that, and maybe make it more foreign for certain groups of people to experience the outdoors. So inclusivity, I think, remains a big challenge, just in general. For many, many decades and years, the outdoors has been sort of a white-oriented space, and that's changing, which is great.
Sure.
But I just hope, we can do our own small part in broadening the audience, so to speak. And I just think also that the more people that can spend time in nature, the healthier we're going to be as a society, as a planet. When people value and start to understand where the paper from their paper towel came from, or the
Yeah.
water in the sink came from, and
Yeah.
where it goes afterwards, and how that all has an impact. Um, just being able to maybe connect the dots with the things in our lives that we tend to take for granted and don't appreciate. There's, generally speaking, people and economists and businesses don't put a value on nature. Um, what is the value of a live elk walking through the forest? What's the value of a free flowing river?
Yeah.
What's the value of a healthy forest? These are all things people need to think about. And I think trips in nature really help that.
Yeah, I would agree. And not only both on the macro and on the micro, like you were talking about, the restorative nature that we get from being out there as individuals, and then this kind of energy sink of positivity for us as a group, knowing that it's still intact and out there and able to see free flowing rivers and the animals that inhabit it is a powerful medicine.
Yeah, it is. And a star-studded sky at night makes you feel pretty small.
Yeah, I tell you, I mean, I'm 55 now, and I saw the aurora borealis for the first time last year, and when I was in Saskatchewan, and I felt so tiny and so amazed at what that whole experience was, because it wasn't just the light, but it was also the electricity in the air, and it was almost like it was popping, and it was so vital and vibrant. And it was one of the biggest experiences I've had outside.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It was pretty amazing. Well, I mean, having been all over the world and in a variety of ways, what's on your list of places and activities to do, either for yourself or professionally? What's still on your kind of your bucket list?
Well, I still luckily get out and guide on 4 or 5 of our rafting trips each summer that are the
Awesome.
4 to 6 days trips.
That's
I'm still very involved in our guide training.
Oh, nice.
And people often ask me, well, what's been the most rewarding aspect of your career? And of course, sharing the places we go and what we do with people is high on that list. But the other thing that's super high on that list would be the opportunities for learning and growth that we've provided a lot of young people over the years who have become guides, who have gone through our
Yeah.
training programs and
Yeah.
spent anywhere from 2 to 10 summers with us. And I hear from those people often about how the skills that they learned during their time with us have been such important life skills for them.
Yeah.
So, in terms of I guess a destination, that is in a way a destination, and I want to stay involved in that. I really believe in that idea that what we do positively impacts people on many levels and many different kinds of people. In terms of
Okay.
actual locations,
Sure.
there's a lot of places that there's still rivers to run that I haven't seen, even some right here in the backyard. And there's countries like Madagascar, I have to say, is pretty high on the list,
Uh-huh.
because of the wildlife, primarily,
Nice.
but also interesting culture. We do sea kayaking trips in Baja California Sur as well, and I just came back from a couple weeks there doing guide training, and that's always a magical place, in terms of marine wildlife
Yeah,
and
that's amazing. Seeing the whales and all the other big animals.
yeah, it really is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, I really I appreciate the philosophy by which you produce these adventures for people, and thank you for that contribution, Peter. And thank you so much for spending some time with me to talk about what you're doing. With Row Adventures and all over the world with yacht tours, kayak tours, and whitewater rafting. That's a lot of time on the water, and you've picked a very powerful way to spend your time.
Yeah, well, thank you. It's been a good ride, and I hope it keeps going. So,
Absolutely. Well, we'll make sure that there's a way to contact you in the show notes at rowadventures.com and all the other social media outlets. And if people are interested in taking a look at the work that you're doing.
yeah, thank you, Emmanuel. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, thanks for spending some time with me. And I hope to get out on a river with you sometime.
Yeah, I hope so too. That'd
All
be
right.
wonderful.
That'd be
Okay,
awesome. All right. You have a great day. Thank you again.
you bet. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, coming from a man who's been on thousands of trips from all over the world, his bucket list location is to be important in other people's lives, and I want to magnify and celebrate that and say that is the biggest contribution we can make. We can do that in a number of ways. One is to take a kid outside, get kids moving to a YMCA camp or on a day hike or on a family rafting trip, and help them ground into the experiences of being disconnected from technology and from the screens, and see what it's like to build sandcastles and catch a fish and row a raft and see stars without the influence of electrical lights. I hope this has been a valuable time for you. It sure was enjoyable for me to talk with Peter from Row Adventures, and I can't stress it enough that it's important to get outside by yourself, get out to wild places, get moving and active in nature, and bring that renewed sense of spirit and energy back into the world, to the people that we know. This is Emmanuel Rose, Nature Bound.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Nature Bound. Be sure to subscribe wherever you heard this podcast so you never miss a future episode. If you found value in today's episode, please share with someone who needs to hear it. Be sure to purchase your copy of the 7 Principles of the Magic Rock at emmanuelrose.com or on Amazon. We thank you again for joining us today, and remember,